Again, I'm sympathetic that Sony, as a private company, was worried about liabilities and this and that and the other. I wish they'd spoken to me first. I would have told them, do not get into a pattern in which you're intimidated by these kinds of criminal attacks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the president when we used to see him. Remember when we used to see him? Now he's on vacation in Hawaii, and he just put out another written statement like the one he issued after the slaughter of 2 police officers. He couldn't be bothered to get to a microphone. And about Sony's announcement that they're going to show the interview starting on Christmas at independent theaters. The president applauds it because we're a country that stands for free speech and free expression, said the president's press release. Joining us now, Congressman Mike Kelly, Republican from Pennsylvania, member of the Ways and Means Committee. Hello, Congressman.
Hello, Steve, and thanks for having me on.
Merry Christmas, and thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. First of all, I want to ask you about the president's initial response to this. Seems to me there's a bit of hypocrisy here. Seems to me that when the filmmaker made that so-called anti-Muslim film that the president thought was responsible for Benghazi, he issued an apology. He made a video with Hillary apologizing for it. That guy went to jail, and now he scolds Sony for doing basically what he did to, with that video.
Yeah, well, I think it's stunning the depths that we've sunk into, or that this president has sunk into as leader of the free world. He is a guy who is do as I say, not as I do, and I think it's very consistent with the last 6 years of a message that seems to make sense to him on where he is at the time. You know, using a moist finger to the air to see which way the wind's blowing. He'll say things that absolutely have no standing, have no body, have no sincerity in them, and the latest move that we just had with Cuba is another example where he tells Sony they should stand up to these people that are trying to do something. And by the same token, we turn around and we grant a country that for 55 years has been one of the greatest oppressors of personal freedom and liberty. And the president cuts a deal. I don't get it at all. I don't think any clear-thinking American looks at this and think that this is the leader of the free world. He always appears to be the victim at the end of the day. I've never seen anything that's so a lack of leadership and a lack of courage that we have right now.
Well, Congressman, let me ask you about the Cuba deal since you brought it up. Congress has to authorize much of that, and we've heard, you know, people in both parties on both sides of the issue with very strong passions on both sides. So where do you think Congress is? I mean, the Republicans would have to bring things to the floor. They have the majority in both the House and the Senate next year. Will the Congress authorize what the president is trying to do?
No, I don't think so. A Republican-led Congress and both houses, both the House of Representatives and the Senate will continue to fight against a president who always does an end run around the Constitution. But again, Steve, this is very consistent with the way he acts. Now, I want people just to go back not too far in their memory, but whenever we made our first attacks on Libya, it was done the day after or the afternoon after we went out of session. The president acts very, very openly after Congress has left town, that he does something, and Congress isn't there to go ahead and rein him in. Now, he knows. Keep in mind, this is a professor of Constitution, right? This is a constitutional professor who knows exactly what the Constitution says. He's for years said, look, I can't do end runs on these. I'm a law enforcer, not a lawmaker. And then he turns around and did his piece on immigration. Now he's done this piece on the Cuban situation, and you look at him and say, look, Mr. President, you just got done telling us you can't do these things, and yet you've done it again. The timing on it is, I think, the thing that is the contrast. He always waits till Congress is out of session or is no longer in town, and he makes his move. It's stunning.
Right. Again, so you don't think that he will get what he promised Cuba from the Congress? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now let's move on to this whole North Korea thing and the threat. You know, I've been talking about Trent Franks about this kind of thing for years, as far as our electric grid's vulnerability, and that not necessarily related to cyber attacks, just any kind of attack. Now, you know, we have the president who tells Candy Crowley, first of all, this wasn't an act of war. This was cyber vandalism, like someone scrawled something on the wall of a house. And secondly, he says we have to prepare for disruptions in our lives from cyber attacks. Why can't he say, hey, first of all, we're going to shore up our infrastructure and our cyber communication so that it doesn't and can happen. And secondly, we're going to warn everybody right now that if they dare to do it to us, they will feel the full wrath of the United States. But that's not who's leading us.
No, it's not. And I think about something here. Mike Rogers and I, who chair the Intelligence Committee, he'd given us a briefing one day, and after it was over, as I was walking out, I said, Mike, can I ask you one question? He says, yeah, sure. What is it, Mike? I said, you made a statement that there's two kind of companies in the United States right now, those that are being hacked into and know it, and those that are being hacked into and don't know it. He says, yeah, that's accurate. I said, well, then my question is this. Why did we put information in a safe that's truly not able to be locked? We put our most valuable information, some things that are very strategic importance, and I keep hearing all these things can be hacked into. And I hear, well, yeah, but now we have with the cloud available.
By the way, Congressman, was that wasn't a classified meeting, was it?
No. Well, the part that I sat in on was the end result that I just talked about was fine.
Okay. All right, Congressman. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. Merry Christmas. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much, and keep up the fight.
Thanks, Steve. You too. Merry Christmas.
Take care. Mike Kelly. When we come back, Roger Simon. Don't go away.